So today we're talking all things Raquel and the moves that she's made and has been making in the first season of Raising Kanan, because she's someone who has shown us that she likes to be 3 moves ahead of her enemies, someone who likes to attack without their enemies knowing when she's coming or going. She told Unique that whenever she attacks, he'll never see it coming, and she's also someone who isn't afraid to shut shit down when it comes to her siblings, but Marvin especially. Now just before Marvin's scrap with Lulu, it was revealed that he did a stint in prison, where Marvin said he was set up, but by who? I'm talking how RAQ could have made a ghost-like move on her own brother Marvin to take over the Thomas organization. In the second part of this video, we're going to look at the moves that Raquel made, learning a thing or two from Symphony and applying his knowledge to a drug business. So this video is going to be split into 2 parts, but of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related over the coming months. But let's talk all things Marvin first, and whether or not RAQ could have made a ghost-like move on her own brother. And I say a ghost-like move because we learned in Power what Ghost did to Kanan. Kanan was never on board with the vision that Ghost had for the future, and Tasha wanted Ghost to kill Kanan, but he could never bring himself to kill him. So instead they hatched a plan where Kanan was arrested by removing his back tail light when he was carrying product in his trunk, and he was sent to prison for 15 years. Now we already know from the very first episode that Marvin used to be the leader of the Thomas organization until RAQ took the reins, because in her words he was never fit enough to wear her shoes. But at what point did she take over the business? Most likely during the time Marvin was inside, and there were a few secrets that were revealed to us during this heated discussion with Lulu, where he said, "You think if you ever kept better secrets back in the day, you would never have done that whole bit in Elmira," and Marvin replied with, "I got set up." Now similar to what Kanan said in Power when he said he got set up, and it does make me think about whether RAQ was the one who actually set her own brother up, and there are a few reasons why I think this could have happened. Because we've seen how RAQ is so dismissive of Marvin. She gave him a few days to come clean about what happened at the stash house, and Kanan being there too, but she's actually had enough of Marvin to the point where in episode 5 she doesn't even want to speak to Marvin. She's so dismissive of him and instead talks directly to Lulu about how Marvin's problem is he's too busy covering up a lie with a new lie right in front of Marvin. And I actually did feel really bad for Marvin during this scene because Raquel went in on Marvin. She must have told him to shut the fuck up about 3 times, basically called him stupid and someone who's always fucking up, and it does remind me of how Kanan is treated in Power Book 2 Ghost by Monet. He told Monet that he's as much as her son as Drew, and in Raising Kanan, Marvin just wants an equal role. He wants to feel a part of the family business, but RAQ ain't having any of his shit anymore, to the point where she's put him in the lowest of jobs, which was helping the old man move his stuff out of the apartment and overseeing the reconstruction work. And this conversation hurt Marvin to the point where he took his anger out on Lulu, and then we found out what happened to him in the past with his baby mama being fucked by a Knicks player and then being passed around by the whole league. So this is what happened to Duke's mom. We don't know whether we'll see her in the future, but the main talking point coming away from these two's conversation is, did Raquel play a ghost-like move to put him in prison and take over the family business? She's shown that she's a character who's cold, ruthless, and isn't afraid to sacrifice others for her own benefit. She sees herself in Kanan, and Kanan is someone who's impatient. He always wants to learn and join the family business, and at some point he'll want to lead the business too. And this is what Raquel would have wanted when she saw Marvin wasn't fit enough to run the Thomas organization. So I do believe she's capable of pulling a ghost-type maneuver on her own brother Marvin to take over the reins, but it's maybe something that will come to light later on in a conversation, because from time to time we do see the past reveal itself during conversations in Raising Kanan, just like how Detective Howard brought up the name Rondell Stark, which is DEFCON, in episode 5, hence the name Kanan Stark. So Raquel has shown us she's capable of anything, whether it's frying a dog to sacrificing a child to protect her own like D-Wiz. Setting up Marvin to go to prison is another I believe could have happened, but another move she made in the last episode was something she learned from Symphony. Now the moves that she made with these apartments in episode 5 wasn't something that she just thought of on her own. It came from what Symphony mentioned to her in episode 2, so let's rewind it back to episode 2 and look at what Symphony said to Raquel that made Raquel make this move. Now we have to rewind it back when they were at Symphony's apartment. It was during this conversation she was telling Symphony that she always wants to hear more about what he knows, and he told her about the high rises, how when the elevators were invented in 1743 the game changed, because then rich people started to buy all of the high rises because they felt as if they were safer up there, safer up high, away from all the poor folks down in the streets. Now from up here you can see what's coming before it gets there, so now I'm sure it started to sound familiar to what we saw in episode 5 and why it makes sense with the move that Raquel made with the apartments that she forced her way into. So let's come back to episode 5 and the conversation between her and Marvin at the apartment. She said that she was bringing the business up to this apartment because from a high place like this they can see people coming from a mile away. No more bum rushes or tussling over corners or hiding stash houses, because over here in these apartments they were out of sight and out of mind, and Unique can be in the streets fighting the corners, but Raquel and her business will be out in the sky looking down on him, and Raquel and her business are on higher grounds. They'll feel safer, whatever, they'll know who's coming and who's going, and they can throw all their shit down the chute that they're gonna build to the apartment down below, just in case they ever do come across any trouble from Unique, the police, or anyone else. They'll be foolproof. And this is what Raquel wants to do after the recent problems with both Kanan and Marvin that they caused at the stash house, and no doubt will eventually happen at the bodega too. No matter how secure they try to make the place, she's still getting a lot of questions and backchat from Gabriel, and he's someone that can't keep his mouth shut. I've already said that he's someone that will probably get dealt with at some point by either one of the Thomas family members, especially because he's a wife beater. But Raquel wants away from all of this. She wants a gap between her and the streets, between her and the police, and this is how she's gonna get it, by being high up in the buildings. And it's a really smart move by RAQ. She's always learning, she's always thinking, and she's always taking things on that she can learn from whoever it is in her life. She learned from DEFCON, she learned a few things from High Post, and now she seems to be taking a few things from Symphony and applying it to her business, making it better and bulletproof. And this is something Kanan will start to do as well, learning different things from different people. For example, the aggression from Marvin, how to be 3 moves ahead from Raquel, and even in episode 5 we see him taking a liking to Symphony as well. Symphony said that nothing gets past Kanan, he has an eye for detail, and it's going to serve him well for the rest of his life with whatever he does. And Kanan has taken a real liking to Symphony. In all Kanan's narration, he told us that class was always in session with him, he was always teaching, but that's what Kanan liked about him. And just like how Raquel's learned a thing or two from Symphony, so will Kanan. And he was also very impressed with the way Symphony dealt with Detective Howard at the police station. Notice how Kanan never picked up the phone call to Marvin or Lou, he rang Symphony, and you could even say he was his guardian angel of some sort. And this is just the start of their relationship. I questioned earlier on whether him and Kanan will ever see eye to eye, but as we got to the halfway point of the first season, you can really tell that Kanan and Symphony are going to grow closer and closer, and he even may have a more relationship with Symphony than he does with Marvin and Lulu, because we actually saw them open up to each other a little during this conversation they had after Symphony picked him up from the police station. Symphony asked him why did he call him instead of his uncles, and it's probably because he's learned his lesson about Marvin's irresponsible ways, and Marvin has probably learned his lesson too and won't get Kanan into any more shit after the last time at the stash house. And we've never actually seen Lulu and Kanan one-on-one, we've never really seen how the relationship is, and it's definitely not going to be any better if and when he finds out that it was him that killed D-Wiz, which I do expect to happen at some point. But with Symphony, he opened up to Kanan a little, telling him that he never really knew his moms and that he was a foster kid, and there's still so much more we don't know about his past, his history, about his family, and a lot has been said about not being able to trust him and whether he's an undercover cop or ghost father. But as time has gone on, I actually don't think he's either. But then again, power does play tricks, and I'm sure there's a lot more twists and turns to come. Symphony will be heavily involved at some point, and at some point I do expect him to be dragged into the world and the life of Raquel and Kanan, which he doesn't want to see. This is just the first time where Kanan asked him for a favor, and asking for favors is a theme over the past episode and over the episodes to come. And no doubt at some point he will be dragged into the street life more and more, and I'm intrigued to see how this relationship develops and what Kanan can learn from Symphony and how he applies it to the game and in the streets, just like how Raquel has done with the apartments. So drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on whether you think Raquel could have been so cold and ruthless enough to actually send Marvin to prison to take over the Thomas organization, and if she made a ghost-like play, and what do you make of her taking the teachings of Symphony about the high rises and applying it to her business and making it foolproof. Drop all your comments down below in the comment section, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.